Kaylee Priest was born January 31, 2017. She was described as a charming, happy, and always smiling young girl. Kaylee shared a home with her mother, Nicola Priest, also known as Nikki, who is 23 years old, and their 1-month-old brother. Police in Birmingham, UK, were called to the Kinghurst apartment building on the morning of August 9, 2020, after receiving a report of a young child who had been discovered unconscious in her room. Emergency services were called that morning by Nikki, and they showed up around 11:17 a.m. However, Kaylee was tragically declared dead at 11:25 a.m. Nikki was on the bed, sobbing and in distress when the paramedics arrived, according to one of them. The young child was on the ground, lying on her back. When they discovered Kaylee, she was dressed in a pink pajama top and blue shorts. They started trying to save her, and they realized something startling. She had obviously been dead for a while. Her lips were purple, and her body was stiff. Kaylee's mother had been seeing Callum Redfern at the time. Kaylee was put to bed at 7 p.m., but the mother told the paramedics that she had been sick 3 times that night. She claimed that she last checked on her daughter at 10:30 p.m., just before going to bed. She moved her to the floor to start performing CPR after discovering her daughter was not breathing when she awoke at 10:30 a.m. that morning. Kaylee had fallen off her play table in her head 2 weeks prior to the incident, but she had not received any other injuries, Nikki continued to tell the paramedics. One of the paramedics recorded this in their report. She claimed she vomited after hitting her head, but she had no other injuries and recovered quickly. She admitted to me that she recently had a diminished appetite and wasn't generally eating as much. However, what they discovered when they cut open Kaylee's pajama top told a completely different tale. She had scars on her torso and chest. Small groups of bruises could be seen on the side. In the center of the chest, there was a red abrasion. The paramedics began to notice some weird thing in the 3-year-old's bedroom around this time as well. It was merely a simple room with a filthy mattress. No duvet or sheets. No blinds or curtains. It simply didn't seem appropriate for a child to be sleeping there. This was more than sufficient to compel the police to question both Nikki and her boyfriend Callum. The true horrors of what happened to young Kaylee would then come to light. As a very active TikTok user, Nikki had previously shared several videos with her daughter Kaylee in which she portrayed herself as a devoted mother. But what was actually going on behind the cameras couldn't have been more false. Nikki mourned her daughter on TikTok while the investigation into Kaylee's murder was ongoing, posting a memorial video with the caption "R.I.P. my baby" in honor of her daughter. A second memorial for Kaylee was posted a few days later, with the words "I love you so much, darling. Mommy will never forget you ever. R.I.P. Angel." One day later, Nikki was back to her old self, posting a dancing video with the captions "Way too serious. Laughing emoji dancing always helps me." Even though her daughter had only been dead for a little over 2 months, the mother was acting as if nothing had happened. By the end of September 2023, the case against Nikki and her boyfriend Callum for Kaylee's murder was strong enough for the police to make an arrest. Following an autopsy, it was discovered that Kaylee had suffered chest and abdominal injuries consistent with being punched, kicked, or stepped on. Given that some of the wounds were healing and were from 2 weeks prior to her passing, it is likely that she had endured physical abuse. Experts compared the injuries to those that would result from being struck by a car traveling at 40 miles per hour or from falling 3 stories to a concrete floor because they were so severe. While disputing the accusations of murder, Nicola and Callum blamed one another for Kaylee's abuse. But the specifics of Nikki's behavior toward her daughter would only be made public during the trial in June 2021. Nikki previously dated Dan, who in fact treated Kaylee like his own daughter. Dan acknowledged that he did see some bruises on Kaylee while they were dating, but he believed they were the result of her being clumsy as a child. He had no idea she was capable of torturing her own child. Lisa Dixon, Dan's mother, had a different perspective on Nikki. In 2018, there was a time. Lisa, the mother of Dan, said that while Nikki and Kaylee were living there, she observed how harshly and cruelly Nikki treated Kaylee. She claimed that Nikki would refer to her daughter by using words like rat and bitch. In contrast to her son's insistence that he never saw Nikki abuse Kaylee, Lisa claimed to have seen at least 6 instances of Nikki punishing Kaylee physically. Other witnesses also provided the jury with testimony. Nikki would strike Kaylee in the head and scream that she wished she had never been given her. A 17-year-old babysitter who occasionally took care of Kaylee reported witnessing Nicola, also known as Nikki, smack her daughter twice out of anger. Once when the young girl asked for food, and once when she covered her baby brother's face with a blanket. The babysitter continued by saying that she had intended to pick up the young child to get Nicola to stop hitting Kaylee, but Nicola had grabbed Kaylee and was dragging her into the bedroom while she pulled her hair. The nanny claimed to have arrived at the apartment around 3 p.m. and left between 8:30 to 9 p.m. A neighbor who lived in the apartment testified in court that she once heard Kaylee sobbing after hearing a bang above her. Other neighbors claimed that they frequently overheard Nikki yelling at Kaylee, telling her to shut up, get out of my face, or leave me alone, but never saying anything nice or encouraging. They assert that they noticed that whenever Kaylee sobbed, music would begin to play, seemingly to mask the sound of her sobbing. The jury was informed about Nikki and Callum's dysfunctional relationship by a longtime friend of Callum's by the name of Matthew Allport. Prior to Kaylee's passing, the two had only been dating for 3 months, but during that time, Nikki had done things to demonstrate her preference for Callum over all other people in her life, including her own children. She had withdrawn the equivalent of £1,140 to buy Callum a BMW despite being a struggling single mother with debts and rent arrears. When Matthew and his friend went to buy the car, they discovered that it cost about £760, but Callum kept this information from Nikki because he wanted to keep the money that was left over. Callum's persistent disrespect and indications that he didn't genuinely care about her or her kids. In addition, Matthew testified before the court that his friend had a bad temper and that he had actually seen him punish Kaylee and confine her to the stair gate so he could have a sexual encounter with Nikki. In court, the prosecutor read disturbing messages that showed how these two monsters planned to abuse this young girl. In a text message exchange on July 24th, Callum received a message from Nikki in which she threatened to be killed because she kept leaving the living room or entering the kitchen. "Give her one for me, please," said Callum. Nicola answered, "I promise, babe." After 3 days, Callum sent Nikki a text message. "I'm going to keep the little brat away from me. Sick of your daughter." According to the prosecutor, the text messages painted a clear picture of the callous attitude that Callum and Nicola had toward the young girl. A terrifying CCTV video that captured Kaylee's final seconds before she was brutally murdered was also shown in court. On August 7th, this unsettling CCTV recording shows Nikki and Kaylee visiting a nearby park. She would be discovered in her room hours later. Kaylee can be seen skipping and jumping in the video just like any other young child. She seems fine. Nikki is busy scrolling through her phone and staring at her reflection in the mirror, and you can see that she is trying to get her mother's attention. This was more than enough proof, according to the prosecution, that Nikki didn't care about Kaylee. Kaylee is tragically never seen alive again after the mother and daughter exit the elevator on their apartment floor. The night of August 8th before Kaylee's death, Callum's friend Matthew was actually present in the apartment. He claimed that Kaylee was already dressed in her pink and white pajamas when he arrived, eating frozen food at her table, which was set apart from the others and in the corner. Kaylee reportedly began playing and jumping around in the apartment after finishing her meal, according to Matthew. Matthew reported that Callum put Kaylee to bed at 7 p.m. while Nikki continued to smoke on the balcony. Callum reportedly spent about 10 minutes with Kaylee before Nikki joined them. According to Matthew, Kaylee's room was filled with murmured voices, but he was unable to make out what they were saying. Kaylee, like many kids, took a while to fall asleep, so when Callum and Nikki went into Nikki's room and went back outside, Kaylee could be heard rattling the stair gate that separated her room, requesting to go outside and play. Kaylee eventually went to bed after her requests went unanswered. However, Matthew claimed that he overheard Callum shouting from the hallway a short while later that Kaylee was ill. Kaylee had already gone to bed when Callum entered Kaylee's room, according to Matthew, who told the jury he had no idea what Callum was doing there. While Callum started the bath, Nikki went to change the bed sheets. After putting Kaylee back to sleep, the couple returned to the living room 10 to 20 minutes later. According to Matthew's police statement, Callum insisted that they stay and unwind for a while even though he had been considering leaving because he had a job in the morning. But then Kaylee fell ill. Callum abruptly altered his tone and hastened to leave. When Matthew claimed to have returned to the apartment later to retrieve the sunglasses, he claimed to have passed by Kaylee's room and observed her dozing off in her bed. She was hidden under the duvet, so I could only see her head. Around 11:17 p.m. that night, Callum and Nikki would text back and forth, with Callum responding, "I'm okay, what about you, baby? How is Kaylee?" Nikki say, "I'm fine. She is still being." After some time, Nikki switched from worrying about her daughter's illness to complimenting Callum's visit. The two then exchanged words "I love you" before Callum said that he was going to bed. Nikki might have been so preoccupied with herself that she failed to consider taking her daughter to the hospital. According to testimony given to the jury, Kaylee would have most likely survived if she had been taken to the hospital for treatment sooner. But Nikki didn't check on her sick daughter for 13 hours, and by the time she did, it was too late. What happened in that room to cause a girl who had been healthy just a few hours earlier to become so sick? What caused the bruises? And who, out of Nikki and Callum, was to blame for Kaylee's death? Despite the fact that Callum and Nikki both denied being to blame for what happened to Kaylee, they were quick to blame one another. Nikki had previously given her own version of what had happened, claiming that she had heard 3 to 5 smacks coming from Kaylee's room while she was smoking on the balcony. She responded that she was scared and didn't know how to approach it when questioned about why she didn't call emergency services right away. After the trial, the judge declared that he was certain that Callum and Nikki were both to blame for Kaylee's death. The two put Kaylee to bed on the evening of August 8th at 7 p.m. so they could enter Nikki's room and enjoy some private time. Kaylee, like many kids, preferred to play late into the night rather than go to bed. However, there is no direct proof of what took place after that. According to the judge, Kaylee's constant crying and requests to be let outside disturbed Nikki and Callum's private moment. The young girl died as a result of their mutual outbursts. The brutal beating Kaylee received is what caused her to vomit. The judge continued by criticizing Nikki for not asking for assistance. However, the judge quickly clarified that he didn't think the two intended to murder Kaylee. Nikki was ultimately adjudicated guilty of manslaughter and child abuse. She received a 15-year sentence for manslaughter and a 3-year sentence for cruelty. Both sentences would be delivered simultaneously or concurrently. In regards to Callum, he received a 14-year sentence after being found guilty of manslaughter. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and don't forget to like and subscribe for more video.